it's been a very interesting topics that I've heard, very insightful, enriching insights throughout the afternoon. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to join the morning session, but I hope you can indulge and spare me another 20 minutes of your time, just to listen to a story, our company's story, and share with you our learnings, our takeaways, hopefully in the context of the future of work, but more of really some key takeaways that you can relate to and hopefully you can pick up from. So Bayad Center, it's at the heart of payments. This is our growth story. This is a overused case examples of Uber, a taxi company without a fleet, Airbnb hospitality without hotels. But I take pride in saying that 22 years ago, Bayad Center was already using this model. A similar, if not exactly the same model. Back then, just a short step back, Meralco back then was collecting payments through collectors. It was going on a house to house. Some of you were not yet even born then. House to house, it was the most convenient. But every day, we were already experiencing, on a more rampant, frequent basis, we were now experiencing hold-ups, robberies. So we decided, management back then, decided to provide security escorts. And not before long, there were now what we called hold-me-ups, staged hold-ups. And our insurance premiums were really skyrocketing. So management had to decide, it was a hard call, but to go collectorless. But that led to payment at our branches. Back then, we only had about 25 branches, but we were serving millions of customers. So queuing was around an hour and a half or 2 hours just to pay a bill. So we had a long list of customer complaints. Even the regulatory body already called our attention. So Bayad Center now was born out of a need. It was out of a pressing need. It was created to serve the customers better, to bring accessibility, to bring payment convenience. Okay. From one biller, Meralco, back then, to date, Bayad Center now collects for over 1,300 billers. And that's our offline play. And here, it's the traditional over-the-counter from a few hundred touch points, customer payment sites within the 60-kilometer radius of Meralco. Today, we have over 34,000, close to 35,000 touch points nationwide, including international sites where there is high concentration of OFWs through strategic partnering. But not only that, that was a traditional offline. But even our digital play, Bayad Center powers all the major digital players, electronic payment service providers in the country today. And we do that locally and even with the international digital players right now. And we also have our own brand. Okay? But despite all this phenomenal growth that we have experienced through the past 22 years, Bayad Center continues to face new challenges and new opportunities as well. Let me share with you some fast facts. It is an evolving customer preferences, and it is mainly due to socioeconomic and lifestyle changes. You know, a very deep insight that we learned through the years. You do not we should not treat the paying public as a one-size-fits-all. Iba-iba pala yan. There are different market segments that have different preferences in terms of their modes of payment, in terms of the way they would like to transact. Later on, I will be drilling down into this. And in general, the payments industry margins will continue to shrink. So it's going to be razor thin already in the payment service business. The payments pie will increasingly be cut up into smaller and smaller pies, sizes. There will be fintech companies, startup companies. In fact, Bayad Center has signed almost about 20 new emerging digital players in the country today, aside from the big local ones that I've shown. And they are mostly closed loop and community-based, but this is the trend. But it now gives, at the end of the day, it's the paying public who benefits because there will be lower fees and because of this increased competition. The advent of disruptive technology, well, it will now accelerate electronic payments and the advent of new alternatives, substitutes. Do you know in China, they recently released and rolled out Smile to Pay. They smile at the camera and a payment is made. And it's distributed in convenience stores. I asked Multisys, our technical partner, and they will be doing that for Bayad Center. However, I was telling Dave, I don't think the traction will be much because it's really hard to smile when you pay a bill. And there are those wearables already. MVP once told me, "Oh, Manny, baka naman mo-marginalize yung payment sites mo kasi in Hong Kong or Singapore or even in Japan, China also as well, they use watches or cards or NFCs, no? Sabi ko kay MVP, if that happens in the Philippines, baka mas nuts yung relo." So it's there. The technology is always there, no? But even the technology obsolescence rate is so high, so fast-paced. Now, the Bitcoin, the cryptocurrencies, there will be new modes of payment. But honestly, for the Filipino, it's too much a mental leap. Maybe it's too ahead of its time, but it will come. This is really weird. The Filipino offline is now the new online. The Filipino has hardly grasped the online transactions, but yet in other countries, big companies that made it big in online business is now reverting and sliding back to offline and brick and mortar. See, it's just a trend. It's like a fashion. Why? Because their claim is there should be customer contact, customer relationship. You have the Amazon, who is now putting up retail stores, retail bookstores again. You have Love Bonito in Singapore. You have Zalora, who's now putting up pop-up stores. And then you have Pomelo in Thailand. So the click and brick strategy, and now there's this new ROPO phenomenon. You research online, but payment is made offline. So even in the e-commerce here in the country today, there's much hype about it, but 85% is still being done cash on delivery. It's a different market that we're serving. But the real advantage of Bayad Center is, one, if the click and brick strategy comes back, it is a major opportunity because Nobody can match the network of physical brick-and-mortar sites that we have in transacting. So, interestingly, let me share with you recent 9 quarters of operation, volume of a transaction of Bayad Center. This is the growth of Bayad Center in terms of its offline or the traditional over-the-counter or machine face-to-face transaction. It's growing at double-digit. Yet the online is still also growing at an exponential rate. Yes, admittedly, it's much higher, but the base of the online is by a few hundred thousands pa lang, no? But there in the offline, it's already 10 million per month, yet it continues to grow. This is very clearly a big challenge for all our businesses, not only Bayad Center. We need to meet the needs of the present, but without compromising our ability to operate profitably in the future. We have to service actually different markets all at the same time. So how are we answering all this? In this growth story, how is Bayad Center managing the changes, seizing the opportunities, and at the same time, future-proofing our business? Well, Bayad Center, knowing that there are different segments within the paying public, first came up with, initially, our sites, company-owned and franchised. These are the ones that we had the big logos. And our market here are the homemakers. They are the single-minded destination payers. We did a lot of, we commissioned third-party agencies to do focus group and surveys. These are the people that do not want to dress up, that but just pay their bills, or get intimidated in going inside banks or malls. These are the homemakers. But then we realized there's a paying market that we call linked errands. Pupunta sa mall, but at the same time pay their bill, or go into a retail shop or a pawn shop, but at the same time pay the bill. So we had to partner with all this, and we power the bills payment facilities of all these shops. And then there was now a penetration strategy that we thought of, because there are still provincial, suburban and rural areas, far-flung areas, that needed to pay their bills. So we released POS machines through partnership with Multisys, POS machines, and even retail machines at the sari-sari store level. And then we now have the young professionals, the more techie-savvy people. They're the after-office people who will pay after office, or the BPO call center agents who would have to go on a 24/7. These are now payment machines distributed in convergence zones, or in convenience stores, 24/7 convenience stores. And then we launched our online. These are for the higher income groups, but we realized that it's actually the more of the OFWs that patronize this market, this channel. Given this, what is now the next big thing for us? The latest statistics say that the ages 15 to 50 accounts for 55% of the Philippine population. And these are the more techie savvy, younger, relatively young population, digital natives. And we needed to evolve with this market and cater to them. So Through our partnership with Multisys, we asked Multisys to develop an app. Very recently, we launched this payment app where you can pay your bills, downloadable in iOS and in Android. You can pay your bills, you can scan to pay, you can send and receive load and funds. But we found that as just a version 1, because very, very soon, the next big thing for Bayad Center is a lifestyle app. It's going to be a super app, where through Multisys partnership, we would be integrating the different apps, so you will not really have to switch apps. In fact, here is a typical day for a Bayad Center lifestyle app user. They can, he or she can order the breakfast or the meal, hail a ride to work, hire cleaners for the weekend, while they book cinema tickets, and even plan their vacation, their travels, their airline tickets, the hotel bookings. All this will be integrated into a lifestyle super app. It's actually a Bayad Center in your hand. And when we do that, that we will call a one-stop app. Just to sort of wrap it up in that story, we found, my thoughts on this, there are just 3 basic things that I want all of you to, if ever, to take away from this portion of mine and from the whole day's event. 1, regardless of your industry, everything starts with the customer. As you saw, Bayad Center was born out of a pressing need to serve the customer better. Secondly, technology, yes, we should embrace technology. But technology is merely an enabler. It is only a tool that makes your provision of efficient and effective service or product. But let's not be enamored by technology, because technology is not the end in itself. So, as we march into the future, we need to constantly reinvent ourselves. As much as Bayad Center continuously evolves with the changing customer lifestyle, changing preferences, shifting preferences, dynamic business environment. Let me share with you Bayad Center's aspiration. Having talked about offline, online, and now back to offline, you know, Bayad Center would like to provide seamless O2O experience, serving both the banked and the unbanked. And our vision in our company is really not to stay at the heart of payments, but more of a relationship with our customers, and to be at the heart of every home, in every community. Now, I'd like to end with a quote from Gojek, one of the really global players in payment service providers, and one I look up to. This senior executive said, "Payment is the moat. Once you're handling money for a user, you can build a castle of services within it." And I was moved by this quotation. I was inspired by it. But then looking back, after 22 years of Bayad Center providing more than just that emotional connect with the paying public, I would like to go beyond the transactional. That payment is, yes, transactional, but at Bayad Center, for me, trust is the cornerstone. We go beyond transactional and we go relational. And once we handle money for users, we can actually build a thriving payment ecosystem. And that's all. Thank you very much.